So I've got this vision in my mind that at some point in the future, there'll be a CRO, a chief revenue officer, or a VP of sales somewhere in the United States who has just received maybe the second or third resignation letter from one of their salespeople. And when they ask why, what's going on? I thought everything was great. When they have an exit interview with HR, that the answer is, well, I want to explore my dreams. I want to explore this thing that I want to build, something that I want to do. And, I just started listening to Quit the Quota and Darryl and Marya, and I was resonating. Like that was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed. And then when that person leaves the office, that leader goes back to their office, they close the door, and behind the door, there's a dartboard. And on that dartboard is a picture of maybe just my face, because no one's going to throw darts at your face. So there's a picture of my face. At some point, you realize the numbers you're hitting aren't measuring the life you're living. Welcome to Quit the Quota. I'm Darryl Miedico.
And I am Marya Ryan. This is the podcast for professionals, especially sales professionals, who've done what they were supposed to do and still found themselves questioning whether that version of success really fits.
Each episode features honest conversations with people who stepped outside the traditional mold, along with reflections from our own years in the corporate world.
Quit the Quota isn't about quitting ambition. It's about defining success on your terms. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing wonderful. Great to see you.
Well, for those of you who don't know, I'm Marya Ryan. This is Quit the Quota.
I'm Darryl Miedico. Nice to see everyone here. Glad you guys are watching. Super excited to bring this content to you.
Yeah, we are. It's our very first. I've never done this before. You guys would have been laughing actually if you saw what we were just trying to do for the last hour to get lighting right and cameras right and testing and all of the things. So we're definitely not professionals at this right now. So really appreciate any kindness as we might fumble a little bit here, but really super excited. I am here because honestly, Darryl invited me to join and be a co-host with him. It's a topic that I'm actually passionate about, but Darryl, why are we doing Quit the Quota?
So glad you asked that. I had about 5 years ago what I thought in the moment, 6 years ago now. Wow, it's amazing how quickly it goes by. What I thought in the moment was one of the worst things of my professional life. I was laid off during COVID-19, that whole crisis that we all had to deal with, something in our lives that really kind of upended us. And and I was laid off. And it was for the first time in my career that I didn't know, I had no plan. I didn't know what the next step was.
Right.
And fortunately, met some amazing people, specifically a mastermind that I joined, around short-term rentals, how to build that business, how to automate that business, how to scale that business. Phenomenal program that I'm going to talk a lot about, I'm sure, in this podcast as we do more episodes. So there'll be plenty of plugs as we do more and more of it. But I was fortunate enough to, really come across a phenomenal group of people that changed my mindset around everything. And what I found was that the security that I thought came with a W-2 really wasn't secure and really wasn't security at all. And went off, started to build my business. And fortunately, we've been very successful over the last 6 years now. And I'm at a point where I see other friends, family, acquaintances that are in the same spot that I was in 6 years ago. And it doesn't have to be that way. Yeah. So the best thing that I could think to do was to start a podcast called Quit the Quota and talk specifically around mindset items, issues, things that hold us back, have great people on to interview. And I know that this is something that's also near and dear to your heart in your journey. So I couldn't think of anyone else better to co-host with.
Thank you. I'm 100% passionate about this because I myself have experienced the W-2 layoff, W-2 layoff, W-2 layoff through a number of cycles, actually. And um, funny enough, Darryl and I was doing a little bit of consulting for him about almost 3 years ago now. Again, time is flying, and I was doing it with maybe the intent of stepping out of my W-2 role, and I was in sales, um, and uh, and and it just I was still in that mindset of this is the W-2 is more secure. I was really scared, honestly. I had a lot of fear of could I even do this? I'm not smart enough to do this. I don't have enough, let me just go do what the norm tells you to do. And so Darryl and I parted ways for a bit, and I went back to the W-2. And right before, though, I went to do that, a little twinkle in Darryl's eye, and he goes, I think you're going to be back. And sure enough, yeah, I'm back. I'm back because of a variety of circumstances that just, again, the W-2 is not necessarily security, and it's not what I'm passionate about. It's just, it's something that I think we're taught from either how we're brought up, the society, even LinkedIn messages, all kinds of things that bring a false sense of security. And I'm not saying all W-2 sales jobs are terrible, but just allowing us to start to think outside of the box and start to think about what I really want. So I now also partner with Darryl in business in not just Quit the Quota, but in some other ventures. And yeah, so I'm really excited to be here as well.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. You as you talk through your intro there a little bit, you made me think. I thought back. Do you know why I thought, or I knew rather? I didn't think it. I knew it. You
Oh,
know
I
why?
know you.
You know how I knew that you'd be back?
No, I didn't know. At least I might have a guess now, but truly didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it came down to your goals. It came down to what you shared with me of what your passions were and what you wanted to do and what
yeah,
was important to you. And
100%.
and what your challenges were with, when we first met, and then you began, on the consulting side and consulting
Yeah.
work. And we had some of those first conversations. Well, why, like,
Right.
why not just do a little extra work,
Right. Yeah.
in your W-2, and
Exactly.
we talked deeper on what was important to you. Um, I knew in that moment from the mindset work that I had been doing that
Mhm.
you were up against the fear. You were up against your internal thermostat. You were up against, all those paradigms that you're talking about a little bit right now, where it's,
Yeah.
they kind of hold you back. They're like, oh, you can't do this.
Yeah.
You're not, it's this is hard. This is easier. This. Go do this. Are you sure
Right.
you want to do that? If you don't,
Yeah.
here's the escape pod. And I knew in that moment for you, that's where you were at. Cause we've all been there. We've all had those moments where, even for small things, we've taken the easier, not, yeah, I'd say easier road, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I know that I'm more comfortable there. Like, um, and I'm like, when you came to me and you told me that, I was like, yeah, okay, okay, I'll see you
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. And now here we are. And it's so funny to me because I guess it's not funny, but now that I understand more and that like we talked about mindset, we do a lot of different work and around that. Um, it's so interesting to see everything start to fall into place when you actually just kind of allow the fear to be there, but then just say, nope, I'm just going to step over you and make a decision to go do something different. That's actually what I'm passionate about and having fun. And you mentioned earlier that, oh, I know this, like as far as W-2, I know this. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to stay in this. But that's also a false sense. That's actually not real. It's easy. It wasn't easy. It was actually really hard to be in that kind of type of position. And it was just what I knew.
Mhm.
And that gave me a false sense of security. But the reason for the name of the actual podcast, Quit the Quota, is because both of us have come from a sales background, and it's not easy. It's so not easy being in that role and having certain managers and certain truly quotas, and holidays being spent working sometimes on Christmas Eve when I got family around and we're trying to close business. And so it's just so interesting how it all starts to play out when you just make the decision to say, I'm going to try it. I'm going to go for
Mhm.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I can think of countless times and countless stories that we'll be talking about in the show that, I would have to work late on Christmas Eve, or I was working during a vacation. Ashley
Oh,
has
yeah.
got some hilarious pictures and video of me. We were up at, this is, shoot, like probably 8, 9, 10 years ago at this point. We were up at Lake Winnipesaukee,
Yep.
and I'm sitting on a floating barge. It's called the Dive. It's a really cool thing actually up in Winnipesaukee. Look it up. I will plug that because it's a cool scene. But
Hmm.
it's like this floating barge that goes around the lake, and it's a restaurant bar, and I'm sitting on the top deck with my laptop up while everyone else in my family and my friends are enjoying some appetizers and some drinks. And my
Right.
laptop is up because I am in the middle of closing a deal. It's end of month, it's end of quarter, whatever the heck it was at the time. And I had
Yep.
a boss who was like, "You need to get this done by this date because we have made financial obligations and made financial commitments to senior leadership who has made those obligations and those commitments to the
Hmm.
board of directors."
Right.
Right. And there, you don't have a vacation. You need to be on right now. And like, it's lucrative. It's exciting. It's fun, to be in sales when you compete at that level and you enjoy it. Um, but I got to the point for me, and I believe this will speak to a lot of people, that it became less about the financial benefits and more about creating more time and being able to spend more time with my family and my friends and being able to do the things that I want to do, be able to live my life by my design, not by somebody else's. And hell, if I'm going to hustle, I'd rather hustle for myself.
100%. Yeah. And you were an inspiration for sure because I watched you I heard about how you built it, but then I was part of it from a few years ago, and how your business has grown so dramatically from that period of time. Like I think it was 2023, November 2023, when we were first, doing some work together. And what's so cool is to see when you actually have done it and now you can speak to it, and yet you've done the other. And you brought up such a great point. It's that um yeah, it can be cool, and yes, it can be lucrative, but is it really what you want to do? Is it really giving you that time? And I think that's one of the most difficult things too, is that what does that definition mean to you, right? Because it may be different for me, and it may be different from the guy sitting next to me or the gal sitting on the other side of the room. Where, okay, your definition of time freedom, maybe you want to, I don't know, travel around the world. Maybe time freedom is being a parent. And I know you actually just were at your son's basketball game at 3:30 in the afternoon. Were you able to do that on a regular basis before?
Nope. Nope. It was, I had one uh, um, boss manager in particular who didn't have kids, and he was
Mm.
a bear to report to. He was a bear to work for when you had something that came up with your children. So, hey, I'm going to be in late, or I need to leave
Right.
early, or I need to leave to take my child to their dentist appointment, right?
Right.
Whatever. Like, and you'd go to him, and he would be like, he used to say specifically, "Oh, I wish I had kids so I could show everyone how easy it was to have kids." And I'm like, dude,
You
dude,
don't know. People don't know. So
like,
just so our
I
audience knows, I'm a parent as well. I've got two kids. I'm a little farther ahead with the kids ages than Darryl. I've got a daughter in college and a son in high school. But yeah, I mean, parents out there, though, we know what it's like to be in the trenches of being a parent and
it's
being there
hard,
and being present, right?
100%, and that's what's most important to me right now. So yeah, I a few days ago, super blessed, because I'm able to, even yesterday. So a few days ago, I know what you're talking about. I created a reel around that
Yep.
just to again motivate others of
Mhm.
what's possible. And even just yesterday, right? Let's talk about that real quick. So we're in the
Absolutely.
middle of doing some stuff right now for Stay Space where we're changing up our website. We're changing up a few different things, which is really exciting. And you had went ahead and booked a meeting at
Mhm.
3:30 because my calendar showed that I was free, and it was to talk about the website with the website developer.
Right.
And we had talked earlier in the day,
Mhm.
and I said, I go, hey, I can't make that. I go, Cooper's got a basketball game at 3:30. And you're like, yep, cool, no big deal. I got it. I'm running with it. I'll send you the recording of what we talk about and all the screenshots. Which, by the way, the website's looking phenomenal. So
That's good news.
they're
Right.
doing a great job.
We actually haven't been able to talk about it yet till this
No, we
very moment.
haven't. So that's looking really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, go back 6, 7, 8 years ago, more,
Yeah.
plus, for me to go to, a sales leader, VP of
Mhm.
sales, CRO, sales manager, whomever, right? And say, I'm leaving the office today at 2:30, 3 o'clock to go to my son's basketball game. Like, I mean, I've had leaders that get it and they're
Yeah.
like, yep, go, see ya. And I could go through each of those, and phenomenal human beings. We're going to talk a lot about them in this podcast as well, of like what makes a great leader. And, if
Yep.
you have that, then awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like, do not leave your gig. Like, if you have a phenomenal leader,
Mhm.
you follow them. If they leave, you follow them. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's true.
so
I've done that actually, and I've done that. I have a good story there too.
I have as well.
Mhm.
But to be able to just create my calendar, and
Yeah.
then and it's not like I didn't do it, right? Like, so I said, hey, I'm not going to be there at 3:30. And what I do
Right.
last night at 10 o'clock, I looked at the recording and I sent an
Right.
email to you and to
Yep.
Ashley and Nicole, and I just said,
Yep.
hey, here are the things that I see. Give your feedback, and that way we can provide the feedback to the website developer, right? So
Yep.
it's just a work life integration for me.
I like that. So many people say work-life balance. Integration, that is way better than balance because people say that all the time, especially in the W-2 world and so many different trainings. I know you and I have been through a lot. Oh, create that work-life balance, create that work-life balance. But no, integration. That's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think as a parent, just showing up is half, or sometimes more than half. Like just showing up for them and what's important for them and what they're involved in and what they're doing. And you were able to do that,
Yep.
right? You were able to do that. And you were able to do that and actually put this thing down and focus on him. And that means the world to him. More, and he won't necessarily know it right away, but we know as growing up, right? Like when your parents show up, that means a lot. So
Yeah. I can look back at my upbringing, and my parents. I'm an only child, so my parents were at practically every single game that I ever had. Even practices. Like, I mean, they didn't like, I'm thinking back. They didn't hang out at the facility or on the field, but they were nearby.
yeah.
Um, you
Yeah,
know,
they weren't forgetting that you were at practice and showing up late and you were sitting on the
yeah,
curb waiting. Yeah,
they were always there. They were incredibly
yeah,
supportive. They were amazing. And I definitely didn't fully realize it at the time because that was normal. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, both mom and dad are at all my events. Like, what, everyone doesn't have this?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, it
absolutely.
just, as a kid, you just don't compute that. And
No, of course not.
I look back now, and I've even said to my father specifically, I'm like, as a father now, I had no idea. I say this to him. I had no idea what you were dealing with. I had no idea
So
what
true.
what your journey was, and what
Mhm.
was important to you, and how I really didn't see any of that, right? Like,
Wow.
you just did your thing,
Yep.
and you were there, and it was pretty awesome, right? So yeah.
Fantastic. So, Quit the Quota came well, when did you think you were like, "I wanna do a podcast?" And then when did it actually start? Because I think that's a kind of a cool journey. Obviously, it's starting today, but what's
Yep.
that time frame? Because I think it's important.
I mean, I had the idea and the vision for this over a year and a half ago, a couple of years ago, for lots of different reasons. It didn't really, take off the ground. I
You were
think
just waiting for me, that's all.
that's all. That's all. I needed a phenomenal co-host. You know, well, you need, like with anything in life, right? So you need to have either a significant, emotional event that creates change, or you need to have consistent study, reading, accountability, motivation, being in the right room with the right people.
Right.
And I think, 2 years ago, I had the idea. I had the idea. Um, but, and I can go through all the tactical reasons why it didn't work out. But if you want to make time for something, you can make time for something, right?
Oh, yeah.
I certainly didn't have a major emotional event at the time to say, oh, I have to do this right now, like I did when I started Stay Space,
Right.
right? So I didn't have that. And at the time, while I was, working on mindset work and study and
Mhm.
doing that, the focus wasn't specifically on this particular venture. That wasn't in the vision. That wasn't in the goal. That wasn't on my goal card. That wasn't on my vision statement. Right. That wasn't.
Right.
It was kind of it was floating in the ether. Right. And I was like, oh yeah, it's out there somewhere. Um, and then truthfully, I mean, over the last, I don't know, 12 weeks now, as we've been preparing, to do this, the mindset work, my journaling, the accountability from yourself, from Ashley, from
Yep.
Nicole specifically, of like, all right, what are you doing? We gonna do this or not? Like that's
Yep.
that's what's pushed it over the edge and over the top now. And I believe that it's a topic that, I mean, I doing the research, no one's talking about it. No one's talking to salespeople. And what I'm going to be encouraging is, for the salespeople that this speaks to, that they want to, um, try something different. I mean,
Yeah.
salespeople are entrepreneurial by nature, right? You just have to be a salesperson. So, for the people across the country, across the world that this speaks to, I'm going to be preaching that it's doable, right? And you're going to be preaching that it's doable. And here's how we've done it, and here's what we've done. And we're going to have people on and guests to talk about what they've done. And normal people from all walks of life, in all different realms of sales. We'll probably have, I can imagine certainly some guests that aren't specifically just in sales, maybe
Right.
sales adjacent,
Right.
right?
Sure. Oh, yeah. That
So,
doesn't have to necessarily apply just to sales, but that's just our experience in depth that we have, in depth experience that we have. But yeah, we have a lot of great ideas and on a great guest list already prepared. So
yeah. So I think that's it right there. That's what pushed me to do it now. It was just like
love it.
anything in life, in the right room with the right people at the right time to motivate you, or the old proverbial kick in the butt motivation, which it stinks when you're in it, right? But
Yes. Oh,
like
yes.
it wasn't fun when I was laid off. But
No.
again, I said this the other day. I forget who I said it to. Maybe I said it to you. Um, but COVID-19 and all the bad stuff that happened during that was actually the best thing for me,
Right.
because it
Yeah.
had COVID-19 not happened, I would still be in my W-2, my sales role, my sales career. I'd probably be on a different company by now, maybe two different
Oh,
companies
yeah.
by now,
Yep.
making good money, right?
Mhm.
But still in that box, and
Yeah.
maybe dealing with a bad leader, or having this yearning to do something bigger.
Yeah. 100%. It's funny you mentioned there's a few things, but the one thing you just said about being in a box is so interesting because we're all individuals. We all have different gifts and different ways of presenting something. You and I are pretty similar, but we also sell differently. And that's okay. And I feel like when we're put into a W-2 role, at least in my experience, I feel like I've been put into a box. So I had to become somebody, I had to become less Marya and more of so-and-so company and so-and-so belief system and so-and-so whatever. And that was it sucked the life out of me. And I didn't know it at the time, because I think you just go into it going, oh, this is just how it is, right? This is like you said earlier, this is just the norm. This is what you do. You have a good job, you have a good role, you're getting paid a pretty good salary, you're making good money, sometimes great money. But I literally felt like my soul was eroding to some point.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why. But at the same time, why did I stay? I'm like, oh, I'll just stick here, this is great. No, and that's funny, because I kept making the same decisions until I heard Myron Golden say this: is your layoff your liftoff? It's your choice.
There you go.
And you made a great choice. All right, so we have a little bit of the backstory of what you were thinking about, but what's your true goal here? What's your vision for this,
Oh
for
boy.
both of us? And yeah,
Oh
I
boy.
know we could talk a whole podcast on that.
Uh the quick like story the vision I have in my mind.
Mhm.
I'm gonna shock and awe right out of the gate. Right. I
I
know you
love
know.
it.
I know you know this one, but
I love
uh
it.
I'm very transparent, very authentic. What you talked about earlier, like, kind of, with companies, you got to fit into that box. Like, this is who I am. So I've got this vision in my mind that, I don't know what the time frame will be, but at some point in the future, there'll be a CRO, Chief Revenue Officer, or a VP of Sales somewhere in the United States
Hmm.
who has just received maybe the second or third, resignation letter from one of their salespeople. And when they ask, well, why? What's going on? I thought everything was great, and they have an exit interview with HR. That the answer is, well, I want to explore my dreams. I want to explore my, this thing that I want to build, something that I want to do. And, I just started listening to Quit the Quota and Darryl and Marya, and that was resonating. Like that was kind of the kick in the butt that I needed. And then when that person leaves the office, that leader goes back to their office, they close the door, and behind the door there's a dartboard. And on that dartboard is a picture of maybe just my face, because no one's gonna throw darts at your face. So there's a picture
You
of
never
my
know.
face.
Hey, we know we've really come around if they're doing it to both of ours.
and and that leader is just like hurling darts, just like that was one of my best salespeople. That was one of my best salespeople that was making me a ton of money, making the company a ton of money. And hopefully they're a great leader, and they're saying, I'm happy that they're going for their dream. Right. But
Right.
man, this stinks that they're going for their dream, because I'm losing that production. Right. So yeah, it's that it's to change lives. That's the vision. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, this is not a this is not a pie in the sky thing. Like I had a yearning going back 15 years ago, 20 years ago, of, man, it'd be great to start a company and it'd be great to do something, like, but just didn't know what to do, didn't know how to do it, was scared. Um, all the fears that crept in. We'll talk a ton about that, right?
Oh yeah.
I just never did it. Never had, like I said, that extreme emotional event. And I
Right.
certainly wasn't studying mindset. We could do an entire episode, and we will,
Oh
about how I was actually, um, like a naysayer with mindset, eight,
yeah.
9, 10 years ago. Like,
Feels like woo-woo stuff. What now?
yeah, yeah,
Mindset.
Aunt Holly, right? So my brother-in-law, Aunt Holly, is very much, in mindset, and she was working on it, and she would preach to me and say, you got this, brother. And she always says to me, brother, right? And
Yeah.
she would say, like, try this, and visualize it, and it will manifest. And I would be like, I would say to Ashley, and I told Aunt Holly this, that's why I can share this story. I actually apologized to her, but I used to be like crazy Aunt Holly, like like
You're
this
nuts.
this 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 visualization stuff. Like, okay, whatever, it doesn't
Yeah.
really, it works.
It works.
And I had to apologize to Aunt Holly, because I told her, I'm like, I used to think this was foofy, and
Yep. Yep.
like, I'm like, but once I
Who's
started
doing
doing
this?
it,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
took right off.
Took right off. I love that. So so much more to come with what we're doing here, but just like you had a story, I was away for a mindset seminar in December, and I was had been they were holding my feet to the fire to like just sink or swim, girl. What are you doing? And pick a date, pick a time, do something. And I didn't know. And I didn't actually announce it. I just went on Zoom and created Marya Took Action event. And sweating bullets, had to take off my jacket. It was the wildest experience, just setting a meeting that nobody knew about except these people at this table that we were sitting at. And I came back, I shared it with you, and we've been mulling it over and discussing like just all this stuff, like you said, preparing for Quit the Quota and what are we going to do and what are our targets and goals? How do we want to help other people feel that freedom? And some other things are falling into place for me because all I did was try that woo woo stuff, pick a date and time, write it down, and tell other people that I did that. And all of a sudden, things start lining up. And we're going to be sharing a lot about that. We're going to have a lot of guests on that have had those experiences as well. Um, the expression, feel the fear but do it anyways is so true, but so many of us don't do that. So many don't do that. And so I'm really excited um to see how we're going to share that with the world. It's really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. 100% on the fear piece right there. Fear,
Yeah.
fear controls a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
You could
Yeah.
go up to almost anyone and say, what are things that you want? I did a post on my Facebook recently, just asked people like, what's their bucket list items?
Yeah.
And I'm going to follow it up. I'm going to do another one here on it and just say, well, what's holding you back? Because a lot of them, if I'm being completely honest, I look at some of the bucket list items and I'm like,
Yeah.
you can totally do that.
You
Like
do that now. What are you waiting for?
next month.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Absolutely.
so what's holding you back? And I'm sure you'll get, reasons that will circle around, the seven universal fears: fear of poverty, fear of ill health, fear, fear of lost love, fear of criticism. That's a huge one, right?
Oh,
So, yeah, like the fear is like, you just got to acknowledge it and just be like, I like to say this, that the fear of acting must be less than the fear of not acting. Right?
yeah.
Another way to say it, your fear of not acting needs to be
Yeah.
significantly greater than the fear of acting, right? So that's how
Absolutely.
you start to create change. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what I'm doing now, or, what I have a bucket list item, right? The fear of not doing that
Yep.
has got to be greater than the fear of doing it, right? So if you have a bucket list item, I don't know, let's just say taking a European vacation for a month, and you're not doing it because, oh, how do I make ends meet during that? How do I, get the time off from work, right? Um, you start
How do
going
I
through all
tell my sales manager that I'm going to be gone for a month? Yeah.
you go through all the tactical of that, and it's going to create fear, right? But you have this yearning to do that.
Right.
So you need to make sure that the fear of not completing that and not acknowledging that yearning
Hmm.
is greater than all the other stuff that we just kind of listed off kind of briefly there, right? It's like, if I were to kick the bucket tomorrow and I don't do that, is that going to be a regret?
Yeah. I love that. So work with the quota. But you've mentioned Stay Space a couple times. So just real quick, what is Stay Space? What is our other business venture that we do?
Yeah, yeah. So, Stay Space is a professional short-term rental management and consulting company. We primarily focus in on helping clients co-host their properties on platforms like Airbnb and Verbo, and direct bookings and all that good stuff. But we also help clients who need consulting help. Maybe they just want to self-manage, right? And we help out with the design piece of it too, right? We have a whole design team that gets properties looking, like something out of a magazine. So Stay Space just primarily focuses on short-term rentals and excellence around that.
Awesome. Love that. And I work with Darryl there as head of growth and client success. So really just working with new clients, current clients, and keeping the wheels moving on with them, and making sure properties are coming on board really well and easily, so that we can hand it over to our amazing, phenomenal, and we'll talk more about that too, amazing leadership team there with operations. So I just thought it would be cool to just kind of say a little bit more, since we dropped stay space a couple times. And but this is, I would say for me, this is going to be a passion project. This is my heart and soul is going to come through this, and helping others, being able, just talking. I could probably do this all day long.
Yes.
Just talking to people, right? And we chatted with a client of ours the other day, and just uncovering and unpacking the stuff. Trust me, Darryl and I are still on our journey. You're never not going to be on your journey. And this is how I feel. Until your time on earth is done, you should always be looking to find out who you are. I even think I said on that call with that client, I'm still a mystery to me. I'm still trying to figure out who am I? And I think there's new versions that are going to be coming out, and with you as well. And if you look back even 3 years ago, 6 years ago, for sure, you're a different person. I mean, you're still at the core who you are, but you're unpacking and uncovering who you are and being able to share that with the world. So I'm super excited for this. It's going to be phenomenal. Any last thoughts before we call it a day today? Our first one, guys.
I know. Super. I'm so excited. I'm so happy we got this done for the first one today. Just feel incredibly blessed and wealthy, and feel a level of abundance. I know that this show is going to change change a lot of people's lives, and give them a lot of insight into what's possible. Absolutely. I would ask that anyone that's listening to these podcasts as we go along, and I'll say this in future episodes as well, don't be a stranger. Reach out. If we say something that's impactful, I'm going to want to hear that. I'm going to want to know. I know Marya will as well. And on top of that, if you start to take action, right, and you quit your quota, we're going to want you on the podcast. We're going to want to hear your story, right?
We want to share your story. Exactly that. I was just going to say that. Tell us what you're doing. Tell us what's going on. If you're struggling with how to continue to do it, because you're like, guys, I'm so afraid. I have all these things. I got to keep the lights on. Are you telling me that I can go off and do something else? But who's going to pay the bills? We want to talk through all that with you guys. So share it, and share those stories, and then we'll have you on, because the more the merrier, for sure.
We're going to share a bunch of stories. We're going to share what we, practice for mindset. We're going to hopefully give you the tools and the confidence to take that leap. So I think my only humble ask would be that if you're taking those leaps out there and you're doing it, or if you have done it and this is resonating, then yes, reach out. Let's continue to grow, the group of us that are the dreamers that take action.
Yes. We'll put down in the show notes how you can reach us, and contact us. And we are super, super pumped. Thank you guys for being here and listening. We're super excited, and we will see you next time.
See you on the next episode.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Like what you're hearing? Please hit subscribe and follow for more stories.